Thank you for checking out this little teaser of the history of the papacy and church. Here's a little taste of what's coming up soon on the History of the Papacy podcast. Now, if you like what you hear, I'd love it if you'd leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or your podcatcher of choice. If you want to support the podcast even more, consider becoming a Patreon on patreon.com/history of the papacy. There are many levels and benefits for you, and you help keep the history of the papacy going. You can learn more about all of this at historyofthepapacypodcast.com. With that, here's another piece of the mosaic of the popes of Rome and Christian church, and I will definitely be talking to you more soon. Idea is that with your podcast is you're working through from Genesis to Exodus to Leviticus in the canonical way. Have you thought about it? I was thinking of this when I listened to your episodes on this. Have you ever thought about maybe jumping ahead to Jeremiah? Because you had mentioned something that in 20 years or whatever, when you finally get to Jeremiah, does it make sense to start looking at these books in different ways and not necessarily the way they're listed out canonically?
This is a very good point. So recently, tell me what you think about it, honestly. So what I was thinking, now I got Jeremiah into Genesis, right? So we already know about Jeremiah, whatever, if you listen to the podcast and you find that interesting. So now you're up to date. So I was thinking now with Exodus, not do it the same way that I did before, because now I know what I'm looking for. And I know what I'm reading. So I want to, as I'm telling the story that they're telling of the time, the ancient time, so-called ancient time that they're portraying in Egypt, because now Egypt, before in Genesis, Egypt is the safe haven. Now immediately it's like the hell. And try to get into the minds of the people who wrote it, now that I kind of have an idea of who they might be, because these scribes appear in the book, and try to place them in time when could they have written it, and then you would just automatically jump ahead in order to tell this story better, because you can't tell the story of Genesis to its fullest extent if you don't know the story of Jeremiah.